There is something you need to hear right now, and if you truly hear it, your life will never feel the same again. You may think things are falling apart. You may feel like you're behind, like nothing is working, like your efforts are going unnoticed. But what if I told you that in this very moment, everything is aligning for you, not against you, not by accident, but for you? There is a force within you, silent, powerful, always active, moving pieces you cannot yet see, opening paths you cannot yet understand, and arranging outcomes you once thought were impossible. But most people miss it because they look at the surface and judge too soon. So before you give up, before you decide it's not working, listen carefully. Because what you're about to realize can change everything. There is a principle operating in your life right now that most people overlook, yet it governs every experience you have. The outer world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. What you see around you, your circumstances, your opportunities, your challenges, is not random, nor is it independent of you. It is a mirror faithfully echoing what you have consistently believed, felt, and accepted as true within yourself. This idea may challenge everything you've been taught because we are conditioned to think that the world shapes us. But the truth is far more empowering. You are the one shaping the world through your inner assumptions. Think about it. Every reaction you have, every expectation you carry, every quiet belief you hold about yourself and your life, these are not passive thoughts. They are creative forces. When you repeatedly tell yourself, things never work out for me, or I'm always behind, you are not just describing your reality, you are reinforcing it. The world then organizes itself in such a way that it proves you right. Not because life is against you, but because it is responding to the identity you have accepted. In the same way, when you begin to assume that things are working in your favor, that opportunities are always finding you, and that you are supported by something greater, the external world gradually reshapes itself to reflect that new belief. This is why changing your life does not begin with changing your actions. It begins with changing your inner state. Actions without alignment often lead to frustration because you are trying to force an outcome while still holding on to the same limiting beliefs. But when your inner world shifts, your actions become natural, effortless, and guided. You no longer chase outcomes, you embody them. You become the version of yourself who already has what you desire, and from that place your reality begins to conform. However, this transformation requires awareness. You must become conscious of the thoughts you are entertaining daily. What are you assuming to be true about your life? What story are you telling yourself when things don't go your way? Are you reinforcing lack or are you choosing trust? Because every time you react with doubt, you are feeding the very reality you wish to escape. And every time you choose faith, even in the absence of evidence, you are planting the seeds of a new experience. It's important to understand that the outer world does not change instantly. There is often a delay, a period where the old reflection is still visible while the new state is taking root. This is where most people lose faith. They look at their current circumstances and assume nothing is working, so they return to their old beliefs. But in doing so, they reset the process. If you truly understand that the outer world is only a reflection, then you will not be shaken by temporary appearances. You will remain loyal to your new inner state, knowing that it must eventually be expressed. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are the source of them. This realization is not meant to place blame, but to give you power. Because if your inner state has created your current reality, then it also holds the key to transforming it. You don't need to control every detail of your life. You don't need to force outcomes or manipulate situations. All you need to do is take ownership of your inner world. So begin now. Choose to see yourself differently. Choose to believe that things are aligning for you. Choose to trust that even when you cannot see the results, something is shifting beneath the surface. Because the moment you change your inner state, you set a new reflection in motion. And in time, without struggle or force, your outer world will catch up, and it will show you exactly who you have become within. Fanfi's persistence in belief is the secret. There is a quiet truth that separates those who transform their lives from those who remain stuck in cycles of hope and disappointment. And it is this persistence in belief is the secret. Not momentary faith, not occasional positivity, but a steady, unwavering commitment to what you have accepted as true within, regardless of what the outer world shows you. Most people believe for a moment, and then they look at their circumstances. If they don't see immediate results, they begin to doubt. And in that doubt, they undo everything they had started. But the one who persists, the one who remains loyal to their inner conviction, inevitably sees their world reshaped. Belief is not powerful because you declare it once. It becomes powerful when you return to it again and again, especially in moments when it feels the hardest to hold on to. When nothing is changing, when delays appear, when old patterns try to pull you back, that is when your persistence matters most. Because at that point, you are no longer just wishing for a new reality, you are choosing it. You are deciding that what you know within is more real than what you temporarily see outside. Understand this clearly. Your outer world will test your belief, not to stop you, but to strengthen your commitment. It will present you with situations that seem to contradict your desire. It will show you the very things you are trying to move beyond. And in those moments, you have two options. You can react and return to your old assumptions, or you can remain still, grounded, and faithful to your new state. This is the difference between those who manifest change and those who stay where they are. Persistence is not about forcing yourself to feel positive every second. It is about returning to your chosen belief, even after moments of doubt. It is about gently but firmly redirecting your mind when it drifts back to fear. You may have days where you feel uncertain, where your faith wavers, but persistence means you do not stay there. You bring yourself back again and again until it becomes natural. Think of belief like a path you are walking. At first, it feels unfamiliar. You may hesitate, question, or even turn back. But the more you walk it, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, it becomes your default way of being. And once it reaches that point, your reality has no choice but to reflect it. Because you are no longer trying to believe, you are believing. This is why consistency is more important than intensity. You don't need one powerful moment of faith followed by days of doubt. You need a steady, quiet knowing that stays with you throughout your day. In your thoughts, in your reactions, in the way you interpret events, you remain aligned with what you have chosen to be true, even if the evidence hasn't appeared yet. And here is where most people give up. They expect immediate results. They assume that if something is working, it should show up quickly. But real transformation often happens beneath the surface first. Just like a seed grows roots before it breaks through the soil, your new reality is forming in ways you cannot yet see. If you dig it up too soon with doubt, you delay its growth. So you must learn to trust the process, not blindly, but with understanding, knowing that persistence in belief is not wasted effort. It is the very mechanism through which change occurs. Every time you choose faith over fear, you are reinforcing a new direction. Every time you refuse to go back to the old story, you are moving closer to your desired reality. Stay with it. even when it feels quiet, even when it feels slow, even when nothing seems to be happening, because something is happening. And the one who persists is the one who sees it appear. There is a powerful shift that happens in your life the moment you truly understand this. Your current circumstances are not solid, permanent facts. They are temporary shadows. They may appear real, they may feel convincing, and they may even seem overwhelming at times. But they are not final. They are simply the visible result of past thoughts, past assumptions, and past beliefs that you once accepted as true. And because they come from the past, they do not have the authority to define your future, unless you allow them to. Most people live as if their circumstances are fixed. They look at what is happening right now and use it as proof of what is possible. If things are not working, they assume they never will. If something hasn't happened yet, they believe it cannot happen. But this way of thinking keeps them trapped because they are allowing an old reflection to dictate a new direction. What they fail to realize is that circumstances are always changing, always shifting, always responding to the inner state they consistently occupy. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. If you don't like what you see, you don't try to force the reflection to change. You change yourself, and the mirror has no choice but to reflect it. Your life works the same way. The outer world is simply reflecting back what has already been accepted within. So when you try to fight your circumstances directly, when you react with frustration, fear, or doubt, you are actually reinforcing the very image you wish to change. This is why it is so important to stop giving your current situation so much power. It is not the cause, it is the effect. It is not creating your reality, it is revealing what has already been created within you. Once you understand this, you stop reacting so quickly. You stop letting temporary appearances shake your confidence. Instead, you begin to observe your circumstances with a new perspective. You see them for what they are, echoes of a past version of yourself that you no longer need to identify with. There will be moments when your reality seems to contradict everything you are trying to believe. You may find yourself thinking, if things are working in my favor, why does it look like this? And that is where your awareness must deepen. Because what you are seeing is not a sign that your belief is failing. It is a sign that the old state is still playing out. Just because you have changed within does not mean the outer world instantly updates. There is often a delay, a transition period where the old and the new overlap. This is the moment where most people lose faith. They see the old reflection and assume nothing is happening. They return to doubt, and in doing so, they keep the old reality alive. But if you remain steady, if you refuse to be moved by temporary shadows, something incredible begins to happen. The old circumstances begin to fade and new ones start to appear. Not because you forced them, but because you no longer gave energy to what was fading away. You must learn to treat your circumstances as passing scenes, not permanent definitions. They are like clouds moving across the sky. They may block the sun for a moment, but they do not have the power to remove it. Your inner state is the sun. It is constant, powerful, and always creating. And when you remain aligned with it, the clouds will eventually pass. So the next time you are faced with something that seems discouraging, remind yourself this is not the end, this is not the truth, this is only a shadow. Do not react in a way that strengthens it. Do not let it pull you back into old thinking. Instead, stay grounded in what you have chosen to believe. Because the moment you stop giving power to temporary shadows, they begin to disappear. And what replaces them is the reality you have been quietly creating all along. There is a truth so simple, yet so difficult for the mind to accept. Everything you desire is already done. It is not waiting to be created, it is not somewhere in the distant future, and it is not dependent on conditions outside of you. It already exists. The life you want, the success you imagine, the peace you seek, it is all present, complete, and available now. The only thing that separates you from it is not time, effort, or luck, it is alignment. Most people live as if they are trying to make things happen. They believe their desires are far away, that they must struggle, push, and control circumstances in order to bring them into reality. But this way of thinking creates resistance because it keeps the desire in a state of not yet. The more you chase something, the more you reinforce the idea that it is not yours, and so it remains just out of reach. But the moment you understand that everything is already done, your entire approach changes. You are no longer trying to get something, you are aligning with something that already exists. You move from effort to embodiment, from chasing to accepting, from hoping to knowing. Think of it like this: every possible version of your life already exists as a reality. There is a version of you who has achieved your goals, who is living in abundance, who feels fulfilled and complete. That version is not separate from you. It is simply a different state of being. And your role is not to create that version, but to step into it by accepting it as true within yourself. This is where imagination becomes powerful. When you imagine your desire as already fulfilled, when you feel it as real, when you accept it as your current identity, you are not pretending. You are tuning into a reality that already exists. And as you persist in that inner experience, your outer world begins to reorganize itself to match it. However, this requires a shift in how you relate to time. The mind is used to thinking in terms of before and after, of waiting for things to happen. But when you understand that everything is already done, you no longer wait, you claim. You accept. You move as though it is already yours, not in arrogance, but in quiet certainty. This does not mean you ignore your current reality. It means you stop giving it the final say. You may still see things that don't match your desire, but you no longer identify with them. You understand that they are part of the old state, still fading away. Your focus is no longer on what is missing, but on what is already fulfilled within you. And this is where true transformation begins. Because when you fully accept something as done, your thoughts change, your emotions change, your reactions change. You begin to think from the end, not of it. You make decisions from the identity of someone who already has what they desire. And in doing so, you naturally move in ways that align with that reality. There is a calmness that comes with this understanding. You are no longer anxious, no longer desperate, no longer trying to force outcomes. You trust. You allow. You remain steady. Because you know that what you have accepted within must, in time, be expressed without. So stop trying to create your future as if it does not exist. Stop pushing and striving as if you are lacking something. Instead, recognize that it is already done. Step into it, feel it, live from it. Because the moment you truly accept that your desire is already yours, the process of its appearance begins. And what once felt distant becomes your reality. There is a delicate yet powerful process unfolding the moment you choose a new belief, a new identity, a new vision for your life. It begins quietly, beneath the surface, beyond what your senses can immediately detect. And while this process is always moving forward, there is only one thing that can slow it down, distort it, or even reset it entirely: doubt. Not the passing thought, not the momentary feeling, but the kind of doubt you accept, entertain, and return to again and again. That is what interrupts the flow. Most people don't fail because they lack desire or intention. They fail because they keep interrupting what they've started. They decide what they want, they feel inspired, They begin to believe. And then they look at their current reality. When they don't see instant confirmation, they question it. Is this really working? What if nothing changes? What if I'm just fooling myself? And in that moment, they shift back into the old state, the very state they were trying to leave behind. This is how the process gets disrupted, not by external circumstances, but by internal inconsistency. You must understand this clearly. The outer world takes time to reflect a new inner state. There is always a period where the old reality is still visible, even though you have already changed within. And if you don't understand this, you will misinterpret that delay as failure. You will assume nothing is happening when in truth everything is happening, just not yet visible. Doubt comes in during this gap. It tries to convince you to go back, to return to what is familiar, to rely only on what you can see and touch. But if you give in to that, you interrupt the very transformation you began. You go back to the old story and the process starts over. This is why your commitment must be stronger than your temporary emotions. You cannot allow every passing feeling to dictate your direction. There will be moments when you feel uncertain, moments when your confidence dips. That is part of the human experience. But what matters is what you choose to return to. Do you return to fear, or do you return to your chosen belief? The key is not to eliminate doubt completely, but to refuse to give it authority. You may notice it, but you do not agree with it. You may feel it, but you do not follow it. Instead, you gently bring yourself back to what you have decided is true, again and again, until that truth becomes your natural state. Think of it like maintaining a signal. Your belief is the signal you are sending out. When it is steady and consistent, the reflection becomes clear. But when you keep switching between belief and doubt, the signal becomes distorted. The result is inconsistency in your experience. So your role is simple, but not always easy. Remain steady. When things look uncertain, remain steady. When results are not yet visible, remain steady. When your mind tries to question, remain steady. Because the process does not require perfection. It requires persistence without interruption. There is something powerful about someone who refuses to go back. Someone who has decided, no matter what I see, I will not return to my old way of thinking. That kind of inner stability creates momentum. It builds a new identity, and eventually it becomes unshakable. So protect your state. Be mindful of what you accept as true. Do not allow temporary appearances to pull you out of alignment. Because every time you return to doubt, you delay what is already in motion. Stay with it. Trust what you have started. And most importantly, do not interrupt the process. Because the moment you remain faithful long enough, what was once unseen will appear. And it will reflect the belief you refused to abandon. So now you stand at a turning point, not in your world, but within yourself, because nothing truly changes out there until something shifts in here. And this is your moment to decide. Will you go back to doubt, back to fear, back to the old story that kept you stuck? Or will you rise into the knowing, the quiet certainty that everything is already unfolding in your favor? You don't need more time. You don't need more proof. You don't need anything outside of you. You only need to remain faithful to what you have already accepted as true within. Because the moment you stop questioning it, the moment you stop wavering, the moment you fully claim it, that is the moment your world begins to transform. So walk forward with certainty. Hold your vision without compromise. And no matter what you see, no matter what you hear, no matter what you feel, don't give up. Because what's coming is already yours. If this message spoke to you, take a moment to reflect on it and carry it with you today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content that shifts your mindset and transforms your reality. Your journey is unfolding exactly as it should. Trust it. Thank you for being here.